dignitaries on the dais, Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe my esteemed colleague Anupama Jorwal all the distinguished members of the audience. Please do excuse me, I have been a backroom boy, a backbencher in the school and in the college as well. And thereafter in the service, always I have kept away from the conferences and seminars. I think this must be the fourth conference in which I am here as a speaker in 31 years of career in the administrative service. So please do excuse me if I'm not able to meet your expectations. Before beginning to talk about the higher education institutions, let me recollect an event which happened in 2017 when 14 of our batchmates had collected in IIT Kharagpur on 25 years of reunion. So it was a batch reunion, but 14 of us who were ex-students of computer science department in the graduate program, we all had collected there. I was the only one representing our country in that group. Rest all had migrated outside India because those were the days when computer science was very new and most of them had found very flourishing opportunities outside India. So the director just sat with us, asked us, what would you like to study in your next life if you were to take rebirth? And so each of us had a different response. Some said that maybe political science, some said still computer science, some said other responses. So what I responded by saying that if I could learn about life, which is not taught in our education system or perhaps across the globe, Jivan Prabandhan, Jivan Darshan, we hardly are taught about life. We are taught about subjects, we are taught about the disciplines. So perhaps that's what defines education. It is not just, learning skills, learning in a joyful way, learning about the world. It's all about life. And that's where perhaps the ancient India had focused on learning about life, how to live. That was most important. So I'll begin. As I said, I have been a backbencher, so I will take support of a presentation and guide you through the presentation to understand about what the state government is doing at present. So can I have the presentation loaded, please? So if we look at the historical perspective, as Professor Sahasrabudhe had mentioned, India had been one of the important contributors in the world GDP. Madison had referred in his article that India used to contribute about 25 to 30% of GDP in ancient times from the first ED to early 18th century. So that's the glory we had. And if we look at the old spiritual texts like Mimamsa, there we say that knowledge not put to action is of no use. So I think perhaps the British period and thereafter the difficulty which our country had passed through, that has destroyed our wealth of knowledge and whatever position we had in the global economy, that has gone down significantly. And now it is in recent times that we have again been able to regain as a nation, both economically and also socially and culturally. So we had centers of knowledge like Nalanda and Taxila, which had set global benchmarks in their own times. And under Charaka and Susruta, which is still very well known, and is being practiced by many in our country, medicine was quite well developed. Many present knowledge they stem from the Indian ancient scriptures. As when I said that we are not being taught life, if you look at Sraman Sanskriti, if you look at Sanatan Sanskriti, a lot was there about the life, how to understand. And in our ancient texts, they used to say, Lok, संसार 3.5 हाथ की काया में है. जो 3.5 हाथ की काया है मनुष्य, वो संसार है. If we are able to understand that, we can understand the whole universe. So that was the thought and that was the knowledge which our country possessed. We have seen that some of the public institutions have progressed, stood test of time. IIT Kharagpur was set up first IIT in 1950 and ISC Bangalore was set up in 1909. And the alumni of these institutions have become global leaders, true global leaders. I know of one of our colleagues in our times, Mr. Sundar Pichai, again from Metallurgy, IIT Kharagpur 93. He is now leading the way in US. And many other colleagues who have passed out from these institutions have made mark across the globe. So it's not that the public institutions cannot perform; they have stood test of time, and it is the awakening which is happening again, that it is investment in the public institutions which is must, which can bring out the best in the country, and we can create global leaders. And if we have to position as a top economy in times to come, then perhaps that's the solution. We have many more centers which have been set up after these IITs and ISC. If we see the why these institutions have performed so well, it's also because of the visionary leadership which these institutions have, whether it is the faculty, whether it is the directors, or the academia industry collaboration which they had. We understand that some of the professors, when they write recommendation, it carries such a value that you can get admission into any premier institution across the globe. So those were the times when we had this personal experience, when some of us used to chase the professors, find time with them, and they would engage with the students so much. They would know what is our schedule, when do we go in the evening to the computer rooms, when do we play, when is our break, when we have returned from home. So that used to be the student engagement. I think that's where perhaps the success lies. If we look at the position of the state of Rajasthan in the national scenario, the ICA survey of 2021-22, that mentions that Rajasthan is the second ranker in terms of number of universities. We have cross mark of 101 universities in this state. And there are two districts which are in the top 10 districts of the country where maximum number of colleges are housed. So just to talk about the figures, there are 665 government colleges, and we have the presence of premier institutions in this state. Now let me come to the challenges which the public sector is facing in education sector. That's basically, one is the lack of leadership. Most of the institutions, living the premier institutions, have limited leadership capabilities. That's the reason why they have not been at par with the premier institutions. The process of selection of faculty, their regular updation with the rest of the world academic community, and their engagement with the students, that has been lacking, and that is the reason why public universities have not been able to perform to the extent they were desired when they were set up. The financial autonomy is another challenge which they have been facing. We call them Vishwavidyalaya, all the universities, but we hardly find students coming from the globe. We spend a lot of money sending our children across the globe. It's almost half the size of GDP of Rajasthan every year. That's the cost we are bearing for sending the students to US alone. Leave the other countries. So unless we are able to attract global talent to our institutions, I wouldn't say that we have been able to perform to the expectations with which the public universities are set up in our country. So financial autonomy is one reason. We have the constraints of the raising revenues through fees, because still a large section of the underprivileged sections study in these public universities. However, we if we are able to attract in times to come the international students, if we are able to develop adequate collaboration with the industry, if we are able to solve the real life problems of common man and engage our students and faculty into that, perhaps those sources of revenue can be realized, and the potential which is untapped in the universities can help us to make them financially more autonomous. Research and development, we all are aware the status as on date, leaving the premier institutions. Other institutions have the difficulties. We have the challenges in terms of vacancies of the faculty, difficulties in the recruitment, and also the curriculum is outdated, old days, which doesn't lead to either skills, employability, or which is not tuned to the current changes which are happening globally. So these are some of the major challenges. But the future roadmap is quite rosy, promising after the announcement of the National Education Policy in 2020. The policy paves the way for transformation. It is just not reforms in the existing education system, but a millennium step forward to bring general skill and vocational education together, because this will allow students to choose their own learning trajectories, and this will does away with the heavy regulations which the academic system suffers from. So what reforms have already taken place in the state of Rajasthan, like choice based credit system has been introduced in all the universities and the colleges. Credits both classroom and out of classroom. The work is on, major part of it has been done, but the journey is long. Both the faculty and the students would need to understand, break from the traditional old system of examination, earning credits, and move towards this new format, which is happening. Then in future, multiple entry and multiple exit. This will require a lot of standardization of curriculum, the common syllabus, common examination pattern, then common papers in future, then common time for declaration of results. These will be some of the important components for this to happen in reality. We have also started this year AEDP programs as per the latest guidelines of the UGC. Rajasthan is one of the first state to run these programs in the colleges. So they have been started in all the sectors where there will be at least 6 months apprenticeship at the workplace for higher education institutions. I am not talking of technical education. It would be in a higher education institutions. So whether it is retail, logistics, or pharmacy, all these sectors will have AEDP programs, and the enrollment for this has happened in the current year. This is likely to improve the employability and the skill set of the students studying in these institutions. I should also mention about one of the initiatives which the state has taken. I welcome our Deputy CM Higher Education, who is part of the second session, is here. So another initiative which our state has taken up in the current year is the Rajasthan Finishing School corporate certification courses for the students in the higher education institutions. These will be the courses for about 560 hours, apart from their regular courses, 3 to 4 hours a day, so that the students can sharpen their skills, enhance their employability, and they are also exposed to the industrial environment or the job market where they have to ultimately find their place. We also have started some of the processes for teaching the foreign language courses. As you all are aware, Rajasthan is known for its hospitality industry. A lot of tourists come here, and there is a lot of export potential in the medical sector, pharmacy sector, many other sectors where our manpower trained in these languages could further use their skills in different sectors of economy, both in the country and outside the country. We also have signed MOUs with major industry leaders, industry partners, and also with the academic leaders. They all would be helping us to enhance the skill component of students passing out from higher education institutions. So about 400 crores will be spent by the private sector for enhancement of the skills of the uh, public sector universities and colleges in the state. And some of these programs have already been implemented. So I'm not just talking about the plans ahead, but what is already happening and what is there in the pipeline. So the future roadmap which the government has charted out in the sector of higher education is to implement the NEP totally, and for that bring out all the policy reforms, bring out changes in the curriculum. The board of studies of the universities have been in constant dialogue. There has been a process of consultation with them and the technical and college education system, so as to bring those reforms at a quick pace, and also to create industry academia collaboration. Board of apprentice training has been approached for signing of various MOUs for providing apprenticeship in different trades across the state. Many universities have already signed, many colleges are in the process, and those colleges which have been able to get the good NAC rating, they are approaching various industrial association, industrial houses to get the collaborations on board. And in times to come, we would also like to set up the chairs led by industrial houses or industrial associations for particular trades. So another factor which we need to also focus on, apart from student engagement, is to ensure that they move from traditional degree-based system to a learning outcome-based system. And for that, all the reforms in the processes, in the mindset of the both the student and faculty, that is being undertaken. And our state, by extensive trainings, has been able to start this process in all the universities and the colleges. So way ahead for all of us in this sector is to leverage the human capital, because if we have to become the largest economy, second largest or third largest economy, it's the human capital which is going to play important role. The knowledge economy will disrupt all the existing sets of production and consumption. In next 2-3 decades, we would see major changes in the patterns of production and consumption. And I foresee that in another 7 to 8 years, our economy would also undergo a major transition in many sectors. In textile industry, we are seeing in China, a lot of them are working with the robots. Same is likely to happen in few years time frame in India as well. So we need to implement the education reforms and make them globally competitive, make them true Vishwavidyalaya, where the students from across the globe come and study here, and foster a spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship. I would just like to mention about Stanford and Silicon Valley, how they succeeded. In Stanford University, they always reward the failures. Our social culture has been different. We never reward the failures in our society. Whatever scriptures we read, whatever history we read, whatever books we read, we always talk about the great warrior. We always talk about the most learned man. We never reward the failures. But innovativeness happens, risk taking appetite happens only when we reward the failure. So we must somehow recognize the talent which made best effort but failed. Unless we change that social thought, perhaps it will be difficult to survive in the knowledge economy. So that's another point which I wanted to mention. Professor Anil Sahasrabuddhe knows this well, and we need to reward all such students, that unless they take the risk, if they are willing to fail in life, then only they can progress further. Thank you.